when the lights are about to be turned off, you know what you need. Because you gotta somehow make that paper, right?
Right. Show me the money!
You come to the right place for that, because it's time for Bo Bounds to
Show me the money!
show you the...
Show me the money and Bartoo's bangers. On the Out of Bounds show, we welcome in Lions and Tigers and Crazy Pills. Bartoo, Diamond Dave joins us on the show, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Book your stay and play right now. Golf, sportsbook, table games, and Philip M. Steakhouse, pearlriverresort.com. And yes, they have award-winning Elijah Craig bourbon. Bartoo, good morning, sunshine.
Dude, good morning. You know something? I'm hanging out here in the cabin with Aaron Rodgers and Bigfoot, and they're only eating half a shroom, and I said, Daddy ain't no bitch, and I ate the whole one, so we're ready for a full-on visual experience today.
Well, you got to leave it all on the field. You can't just dip your toe in it, okay? So that's what kind of guy you are. You're the Nick Saban of shrooms. So let's, I forgot what we teased. This is sad. I think I can't remember when we had you on, Monday or Tuesday.
We were teasing breaking down the national championship thing, but speaking of Saban, I got something to go off on for 45 seconds.
Please. Because
of this jackass on Twitter was talking about Texas being the next Bama dynasty. Okay. Let me get something straight for y'all. All right. That ain't ever happening again. One of the reasons Nick Saban quit the Bama dynasty is because he could not maintain his own dynasty because of NIL and paying players.
That's right.
Think about that. Okay. Nick Saban couldn't be Nick Saban, so he quit. And now people are talking about somebody being the next Nick Saban. Are you stupid? That is crazy pills, right? And I don't think fans want to accept the reality that every national championship going forward now, because we've had 4 complete years of NIL paying player churn, okay? Our national champion this year and going forward would probably get the floor wiped using them by these better teams. Old Alabama teams, old Miami teams, old Georgia teams, you name it.
LSU 2019.
Yeah, we're just not going to see that again, okay? And even if there's a team that wins 1 or 2 or a couple in a row, I still don't think the team quality overall is going to be there. The player continuity is not there. It's just the emotion of playing hard. Kirby said it at SEC Media Days. These guys don't play as hard. They're not putting in the to-the-wall effort that he used to see. And so it's just different coaching. Athleticism is still there, but the mental aptitude, the drive, is less. And sure, it is, because money affects people in different ways, and especially young adults. It really affects them in different ways, and they make even more stupid decisions. I was barely lucky to not get arrested and die before I was 20, and I had no money. Yeah. I can't imagine if I had some money.
Right.
So, yeah, it's the whole argument of anybody being anything like past dynasties of college football. Stop it. You're just embarrassing yourself as a person with a low aptitude of reading comprehension. I get it. You didn't pass English reading comprehension when you were a kid. Don't take it out on the rest of us.
I love it. Bartoo's Bangers on the Out of Bounds show, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Okay, so we were going to talk national championship. Is that right?
National championship, right. Breaking it down, because I do this every year, and I try to make college football simple.
Right.
Right. I try to take as few variables as possible and go, okay, what's an outcome that is reasonable with few variables? And I started doing this back in 2008 after listening to Colin Cowherd here locally. Before he was anything, he was just a host here at a show here in Portland. And he was always talking about talent, and that's what got me going down creating my own recruiting composite in 2008, and then start equating that recruiting composite to what does it take to win a national title. And since then, I've kind of built on that because my goal is always to have a pool of national title contenders that is small as possible, right? My first pool, my first pool was in 2008 was anybody that was a top 10 4-year recruiting composite won the national title. And that was true all the way up until the point that Clemson won one with Deshaun Watson, and they were number 12. And so it got me thinking even further, okay, what else do all these teams have in common? And that's where I brought in the coaching. That's where I found, okay, what did they do the year before? And then some people would start copying my work, right? That's where the blue chip ratio came up about 5-6 years ago, was off that original work. It's the same thing, but the blue chip ratio pool is always 12, 15 teams, basically the top 15 recruiters. Okay, that's not difficult. That's just copy paste of what I did a long time ago, calling it something else.
Right.
And last year I was on your show, and I said, here are the 5 contenders for the national title. And they all met the criteria of, were they a top 10 recruiter? Yes. Were they top 25 in scoring efficiency, total team scoring efficiency, offense plus defense? And I'm saying offense plus defense because a lot of listeners, when they hear scoring efficiency, only think about offense. Let me remind everybody, there's 2 sides to a scoreboard, and they're equally important. So the ability to put points on the board per snap is equal to the ability of keeping points off the board per snap. 50-50, okay? Great defenses win championships too. It's not all about offense. So total team, so you got to be balanced, top 25 scoring efficiency the previous year. So it means you have to be good to be great, which made a lot of sense to me, and I like seeing that. There hasn't been a flash in the pan that went from really poor to a national title year over year. And then you have your top 10 recruiter, right? And then you have a coaching staff. My work in the NFL and college football, building staffs, we have grades for every OC and DC along with everybody else in the country. And every national title winner had a 3.5-star or better OC or DC coming into the season. And so last year it was Texas, Notre Dame, Georgia, Oregon, and Ohio State. That was my pool of 5. Those are the only ones that met all the criteria. Now there's a tier 2 one that's kind of loosey-goosey, and that's because Clemson and Michigan both won a national title without, quote-unquote, being in a composite high school top 10, but they both won with a first-round NFL draft pick at quarterback. Okay? So, like Penn State this year, Penn State's tier 2, maybe, if you believe their quarterback is a first-round NFL quarterback. I think their quarterback is a discount Quinn Ewers, and I didn't think he was any good either. So I'm not buying the Penn State. I don't think they have enough talent at quarterback to do it, and I don't think they have enough talent in the rest of their team to do it. So that's how I break it down. And so I'm ready to go any direction you want, breaking down the pool for 2025.
Okay. So do you have how many teams do you have this year that are?
I believe there are 5 again, or there might be 6. I didn't even have my spreadsheet in front of me.
Probably Rutgers, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma State, and
Kent State,
Cal Berkeley. Okay.
Kent State, Cal Berkeley. Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Cal fires Brian Harsin, and Nick Rolovich takes over the offense and has the number 1 offense in the country and just steamrolls through the ACC.
So weird that Cal and Stanford in the ACC. Anyway, stay on point. All right. So what teams? You mentioned last year's teams. I'm sure that they're either all going to be the same or 4 out of 5 or whatever.
They're actually not. Well, let's start with one that's not going to be the same.
Okay.
Okay. I'm throwing out Ohio State right now.
Okay.
All right. Ohio State's gone. And I know, and they have the talent, right? And it's not because they are repeating, even though that's a darn good reason to bet against them, because there's that national championship hangover. We've seen it a lot. right? We saw Texas win a national title and collapse the next year. We've seen, we saw Michigan do it. Not this last Michigan, but the Michigan before.
Right.
But I do believe Michigan's going to further collapse this year. And so, Ohio State's out because Ryan Day's not calling the plays. They have a zero experience, never called plays before offensive coordinator in Brian Hartline. Okay? So I'm throwing them out, and they have a new defensive coordinator. Jim Knowles went on to Penn State, and they brought in Matty Patricia from the NFL. Okay? And I don't mind betting against that either. Matt was above average in the NFL, but understand Matt worked for Bill Belichick, and every defensive coordinator in New England looks good. Steve Belichick looked good. Okay? So there's a good question mark next to Matt Patricia. The only guy that has transitioned well from the NFL to college, was successful and went back, was Brian Daboll. Remember when he had that 1-year stint at Alabama?
Yeah.
Right. But if you look at his progression numbers, Brian Daboll in the NFL in the last 25 years is the number 1 ranked offensive coordinator for turning an offense around in the NFL.
Damn.
He has the best progression number. I'm not saying he had the best offenses. I'm saying he took garbage and made it better and improved it across the board more than anybody else in the NFL. And I think that's why he was successful in adapting what he did at Alabama. So you look at Matt Patricia, he doesn't improve things. He maintains things. So overall at Ohio State, it's not the talent, it's not Ryan Day, it's the offensive-defensive coordinator pairing that the spreadsheet has no faith in.
Okay. Damn, so was Jim Knowles was he a top 10 DC for you? Or
top 20 when Penn State hired, or when Ohio State hired him. Okay. But his ceiling was 5-star because he had elite ceiling. See, the thing with Jim Knowles, and I don't know where the tweet is that I sent out, but the thing with Jim Knowles is his defenses are incredibly complex, and they take a few years to get moving.
Oh, okay.
So we were like, okay, this is great for Ohio State, but he is not a turn and burn DC. His impact won't be felt for 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
Right? In the first year, they struggled. Okay, they weren't in the top 20 in defensive scoring efficiency. The next year, 2024, they were top 10 in defensive scoring efficiency. 2025, they were top 2.
Okay.
Okay, and so it took to year 3 for them to get together. That's another reason why I'm not betting on Penn State.
Okay.
Is I think they're under-talented as a national champion, but I also think Jim Knowles is going to be historically too complex to be able to get it done.
Okay.
So
for our listeners, Jim Knowles was the defensive coordinator at Ohio State the last few seasons. Of course, they won it last year, and Penn State and James Franklin poached him this year. All right, go ahead, Bartoo.
Yeah. So that's why I have Ohio State on the outside looking in. Another top 10 recruiter on the outside looking in, LSU. Okay, you and I won't argue the NFL talent that comes out of LSU, man. What are we talking? Top 3 in NFL starts in the last decade?
Yeah.
LSU just oozes NFL talent. But a lot of people don't realize this. Neither their offense nor their defense was top 60 in offensive and defensive scoring efficiency last year. They weren't good at anything. They had the second worst defense in the SEC, and their offense wasn't top 60 in the entire country.
Good grief.
Did they have NFL talent? Yep, they got it everywhere. Did they have a really good head coach? I do believe in Brian Kelly in the right situations. But Brian Kelly's weakness has always been staffing, and it usually takes him a while, and he hasn't figured it out. Joe Sloan, his first year was not good, and Nussmeier didn't elevate him. So I'm not buying Nussmeier either. And Blake at DC, 3.5-star guy. I know he was kind of a rising star coming out of Missouri. But for LSU brand and LSU money, we didn't like the hire, and it hasn't panned out yet. So LSU should be a perennial national championship conversation, but they haven't got the staffing and player cohesion yet to put them in that tier 1 group as a contender. They're like tier 3. They have the talent, but they don't have the experience and the coaching to get them there. If they won, it would be a huge anomaly.
Damn. So Ohio State, LSU out. All right, go ahead, Bartoo.
We got Georgia in. Okay. Georgia's in. This, they kept their entire staff. They're a top 2 recruiter. And they were top 10 in offensive scoring efficiency last year. Actually, their scoring efficiency in 2024 was better than their 2025 scoring efficiency. And everybody jumps on Mike Bobo, but the problem at Georgia last year was the defense. They were 26th in defensive scoring efficiency. That was the first time in the last 7 years they were outside the top 5. That defense was really good, but totally subpar for Kirby Smart last year, completely. But overall, offense plus defense, it was still easily top 25. It was top 10. So you got the talent, you have the performance from last year, you got the coaching. Georgia's in tier 1. The other one from the SEC, Alabama's in tier 1. You have an excellent OC-DC pairing, good head coach. Their performance last year, they were top 10 in offense and defensive scoring efficiency last year. And like Ed Orgeron winning a national title, I will never understand how Alabama was cruising, then went to Norman, Oklahoma, and just got mud-holed right into the dirt. That one was wild, and again, bad loss, cost you a playoff spot, but a really, really good team.
God.
So
they lost to Vanderbilt.
That should have been it right there, but still, they kept that one close. It was a tight loss. This is why we play the games, right? It's fun.
Wow, what am I drinking?
But what happened at Oklahoma? This is an offense that was top 10 in scoring efficiency and couldn't do a damn thing. And it's like, Venables, where has this been for the last 3 years, dude? You're about to get fired, and you can still produce this? Why can't you do this every Saturday, not once a season? Dang. But Alabama's in there. But remember, Alabama and Georgia both got new quarterbacks. Okay. Team 3, right in my backyard, Oregon. Right? Again, coaching continuity. Dan's there. Stein, the OC's there. Tosh, the DC's there. The coaching stayed intact. They hardly had any transfers in, hardly had any transfers out. And I remember what I said in the previous show. Last year's 4 semifinalist teams had 30 total transfers in the preseason. 30 total. So really low transfer rate, meaning they were really happy with their roster. They kept a lot of guys. So Oregon, and again, Oregon was good last year. The difference for Oregon versus Georgia and Alabama is they have a quarterback with some experience. Dante Moore started 12 games at UCLA and then sat behind Gabriel last year. So I think Oregon, if Dan Lanning had a window to win it, this might be it.
Okay.
Right now, because Ohio State has a new quarterback. Okay. Penn State doesn't have a good one. Michigan, I don't think Michigan's very good, and I don't think Michigan has a very good staff. We'll see how Bryce Underwood is, but outside of Cam Newton, we haven't seen one quarterback take over the world. Okay, and then you got Georgia with a new quarterback. You got Texas with a new quarterback. You got Alabama with a new quarterback. You got LSU that's not very good. I think this is the opportunity for a Miami, a Clemson, or Oregon to possibly do something special.
Okay, that would be. So Georgia, Bama, and Oregon kind of in the catbird seat, leaders in the clubhouse, so to speak.
Yeah, they're sitting there right now. You still have Texas. Okay. Texas is in there. Okay. But, because you have the best offensive, defensive, special teams coordinator trio in the country. You have top 5 recruiting, right? They were obviously very good last year, defensively and offensively. But again, they got a new quarterback. But it might be addition by the subtraction, but that quarterback has no experience either, right? And we don't know what that's going to do. And Steve Sarkisian has an innate ability once a year to lose a game that makes you go, damn, dude. And it's every single year. So I think Texas has to be more lucky than good to overcome that head coaching for him. And then you have Notre Dame still. Notre Dame's still a top 10 recruiter. They get their offensive coordinator back in Denbrock. They get their defensive coordinator back in Golden, who has done a fantastic job there. And that, to me, is the group. Now, Miami has moved into the top 10 of high school recruiting. Check that out.
Yeah, I like, Cristobal is a ferocious recruiter, maybe best in the country. I just don't think he's a good head coach.
I put him in there with Sarkisian.
Yeah.
Solid, right? Solid, but not an exceptional on-field coach.
No.
Somehow.
Game week, game day. Woo.
Yeah. Somehow, if you said, hey, I need a coach's brain to handle a tight game for 60 minutes, give me your top 3 active guys right now. Is Sark or Mario going to be on the top of the list? No. Okay. I agree with you. Mario is probably the best individual recruiter dog out there in the country.
Yeah, I think he's number one. We've talked about it on the show the last few months. I think he's number one.
Right. Yeah. He is relentless.
Animal.
No, it is amazing. And there is no head coach that I've worked with that I've gotten more calls from random times during the day than that guy.
He's Eddie O, but more polished.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic from that standpoint. But he's put Miami into the top 10, but I still have a question mark about, you got a new defensive coordinator in Hethman, and he's solid, 4-star guy, so I think the defense is going to be okay. Offensively, you lost Cam Ward, and Cam Ward I feel is special.
Yeah.
And Shannon is their OC. You got Beck, who isn't used to running that kind of offense.
Ugh.
To me, Miami is kind of a tier 2. Same thing with Clemson.
Okay.
Just not quite the talent, but they have an excellent offensive coordinator, and they're one of the top 12 recruiters with a really good veteran quarterback coming back. So I think this is one of the seasons you and I have talked about windows. This might be the window for that team that hasn't won it before. Now, I know Clemson's won it before, but, a team with lesser talent to go in there. And a lot of people might be listening going, well, what do you mean lesser talent? So as I said at the beginning of the show, I've been tracking recruiting rankings, composite rankings, since 2002, right? And I just updated my composite ranking from 2002 to 2025. So 23 seasons all mashed in together. And starting in 2005, so the last 20 years, 17 of the last 20 national titles have been won by top 10 20-year composite recruiters.
Okay.
17 out of 20. Number 11 is Auburn. They have one, right? So 18 of your last 20 national titles have gone to the top 11 high school recruiters. And the 2 outliers are Clemson. Clemson won 2, and their composite for the last 25 years is 17.
Okay.
So, if you're not in that top 10, what are we talking about? 1 out of 10 years, somebody wins it?
Right.
So stick with the high school recruiting, folks. It just wins football games, like it or not.
All right. Real quick, I got a minute. Yeah. Kiffin Sark. As a head coach, Kiffin is better. Yep. Sark is slightly better as an offensive play caller. Is that right?
You know something? I mean, kind of throw a dart there. I think I would take Lane as an offensive play caller, though, over Sark. Okay, and here's why. Look at what Lane has had to deal with the last 10 years. FAU, Ole Miss. Significantly less talent than Texas and Alabama.
Right.
Okay. I think we're splitting hairs on who you would take, but if you said, Dave, you got to take one of these guys to be the offensive coordinator at Mississippi State for one season, I'm taking Lane over Sark.
Okay. Yep, that's what I needed. Dave Bartoo. Bartoo's Bangers. Show Me the Money, brought to you by Pearl River Resort and the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. Book your golf stay and play right now, pearlriverresort.com.
Show me the money!
Bartoo, thanks, bud. Have a great weekend.
Hey, you're beautiful. Stay good.
See ya.